Hi, it's Maria from Still Dreaming Homestead. Glad to be back with you. I have a little story to tell you today. We've been in a drought in this area. Now, I'm very thankful that the weather hasn't been so severe as much of our country has had with the Arctic blast that's been blowing through and endangering so many lives. But we're still in a drought. So last night, the weatherman said we'd be getting this atmospheric river coming through. I was really, really happy because my well is still being affected from year after year of drought. Even in December, I can run it dry if I run it a long time, and I shouldn't be able to. But it reminded me of years ago. I lived in a little area called Dora, Oregon. My mom and dad had the local store there. My grandmother had owned it before them. And they got lots of rain in that area. So one day I decided to go with my son Jason, who was only 5 at the time, to go to Roseburg. And we go over the old Coos Bay Wagon Road. I've done a video on that before. It's a beautiful, beautiful scenic route. And we would go over and visit. But it was raining hard. That didn't bother me at all. As we were going, there's a beautiful waterfall. And, it's a big one. It's wide, and it comes out and drops over beautifully. But as I was headed over, the waterfall didn't look right. In fact, I stopped to look at it because water, instead of falling out, was shooting really far out before it would drop. And I'd never seen that in my whole life. And I had been going over that way for my entire life because that's where my grandmother lived. Well, I just kept driving home and I wondered, what could that mean? I didn't have any idea. When I got to Roseburg, the roads were flooded in town. Now, I could still drive them, but you were driving through water. And I went and visited my brother, and while I was there, I got a call from my dad. And he said, "Maria, what are you doing?" I didn't know what he was talking about. He says, "Get home now, if you can get home. It's flooding." Well, I thought my dad was overreacting, but I tried to be obedient to my dad, and I knew that he always had my best interests in heart. So I headed home. And as I was headed home, it was flooding, and I drove through so much water on this old country road. And at one point, the water was over the road enough that I wasn't sure that I could even get across it, but I quickly did, and I got home. Well, we had a major, major flood at that point. I was home and I was safe, knocked out our electricity, but I was okay with that. We had a wood stove and I had kerosene lamps, and so we were fine. I could cook on top of the wood stove. In fact, we ate some wonderful meals because I had to be more creative. And it was quite an adventure for Jason and I. Jason could not go to school for days and days because of the flooded roadway. So that's what this made me think of. I don't think that's what we're going to have today, but it was quite an adventure, and I was very lucky to get home. If I'd waited any longer, I would have had to turn around, which would have been okay, and go stay with my brother Frank. So watch out for the weather, whether it is rainy and flooding or whether it's icy and cold, windy even. We can't control the weather, but we can try to use precautions, and we can try to be wise. Now, I wasn't necessarily wise in this, But in my behalf, I did not have any local news. So I was not aware of what was going on when I took off, other than just in my little area. I didn't realize that the weather was worse where I was heading. And the reason that waterfall was shooting straight out was there was so much water coming out of the mountains, and it could not fall. It just gave it such propelling force that it shot like that. I don't think I'll ever forget that. Well, it's Maria from Still Dreaming Homestead. I want to pray blessings on you and yours, in your house, out of your house, in the day and the night. Whatever you do, keep dreaming. Good night. God bless you.